welcome back to a town called Yarn, obviously not a real town. My name's Harrison and this is episode 22. Oh, is that right? I think I'm lying to you. No, I'm not. Episode 22 of my Knitting and Crochet podcast, where no prizes for guessing what I talk about, knitting and crochet and yarn in general. And I did at one point try a bit of cross stitch, but it's now the second month that I've done no cross stitch, so let's not talk about that. I've had a bit of an odd couple of weeks in terms of, it just feels like the time's completely flown away and I don't feel like I've done anything. I've done a reasonable amount of crafting. I don't have any finished objects, and I have 5 whips that I have worked on. 6 whips that I've worked on. I guess I'll talk about this one a little bit actually. 6 whips that I've worked on, but I've not made any major progress on any of them, I don't think. One of them's a new cast on, so I guess I kind of have with that, and I will talk to you about that when I talk to you about it. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I just feel like the time's gone a bit all over the place. I don't know. I think it's potentially a kind of, we're coming through the change of the season. So I think it's a little bit winter to spring. Everything feels a bit up in the air. Everything's a bit all over the place. But I have a week off work the week after I'm filming this. So my plan is to make a lot of progress, get stuff done, and live my best life when it comes to my crafting and when it comes to not my crafting as well. It's actually my nephew's 3rd birthday next week. But it stresses me out because I do have something I'm making for him that is not finished and part of it's not even started. And then I also probably need to, I might buy him something as well. I don't know what's happened. My family, normally the first birthday of my family starts in June. My sister having a child in March really throws me off because I'm not really prepared to buy gifts this close to Christmas. I know it's not even that close. My sister's husband, his birthday is in January, and I don't know how he ever gets anything even remotely thoughtful. So that's stressing me out a little bit. And then it's Mother's Day that weekend as well. I think it's Mother's Day all over the... No, I think American Mother's Day is later in the year. But in the UK, Mother's Day is the... Is it always the... Yeah, it's always the last Sunday in March, I think. Or is it a set date? No, it's always the Sunday. I don't know. I should know, that's bad. I've had a mum for 29 years. I should know that. But it's Mother's Day, so I need to kind of sort something out as well. We're going to Marwell that weekend, which is mainly for my nephew's birthday, but I think my mum's probably equally excited about it for Mother's Day as well. So I need to get all that sorted, which is a lot, but also not a lot. It's one of those things where I don't actually have a lot to do. I just need to sit down and order some gifts, but that feels in my head like there's a lot to do. And also hopefully get a lot of crafting done over the next couple of weeks. I have... What was I going to say? I feel like I had something to say then, but I don't know what it was, so maybe it wasn't important. I have, like I said, 6 whips to talk about, 1 new cast on. I've had some yarn come in and I've had some purchases, so I'm going to talk through those. 2 of them I'm not sure if I spoke about the last time, so apologies if I'm repeating myself. And then last time, for the first time, say the word time more times, last episode I also spoke about kind of reading and watching at the end of the video, so I'll do that again because I think some of you enjoyed it, hopefully. And if you did comment on not last week's, but the last episode, thank you. And thank you for your recommendations on people who make these kinds of videos and kind of just interacting. I love kind of getting down in the comments, and I was much better at replying to you in a timely manner because I think it took me like 3 weeks on the last video to reply to some of you, which isn't the best, but I got really busy. Soz. But yeah, I've got some purchases, so this might be a slightly shorter video, but I'm saying that it's already 6 minutes in and I've not even shown you anything yet, so maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be a rambly video, and we'll see how that goes. Actually, that's what I was going to say. So because I'm off next week, off work, I think I'm going to film 2 videos next week. I think I'm going to film a kind of crafting, there's an aeroplane going over, I don't know if you'll be able to hear that. I think I'm going to film a kind of crafting weekly vlog thing. So just kind of vlog throughout the week about what I'm crafting, what I'm working on, a little bit about what's going on in my week. A bit of me's nervous to do that because I'm scared to show the internet how little I do, because part of next week is I want to do very little other than craft, but I also don't want it to come across that I'm just like, hi, it's Monday, I'm sat on my sofa knitting. Hi, it's Tuesday, I'm sat on my sofa knitting. So, but I'll try and show you a bit of my week. And then one day next week, I really need to sort out my yarn. I kind of did a bit of a sort out before Christmas that's kind of, it wasn't really sorting out. It felt like sorting out, but really what I did is I just put all my yarn into bags. And now there's just bags of yarn that I haven't really organised. So I'm looking at my yarn stash at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to film a bit of an organisation vlog, and I suppose a bit of like a stash tour, because there'll be a lot of yarn in there that's from before I started filming these videos. So I'll show you, and I'll also show you anything that I'm maybe getting rid of, slash parting ways with, slash whatever I end up doing with it. So I think I'm going to film both of those next week. The vlog I will probably release first, and then it might be that you get over the next 4 weeks 4 videos, potentially, which might be too many, so you might get bored of me and then everyone might unsubscribe. But fingers crossed that's not what's going to happen. Shall we get on? Shall we talk about some knitting? Because now it's 8 minutes in. But also let me know if that sounds interesting, because if you all say that sounds really boring, then I won't do it and I won't waste my time. So let me know. Okay, take a drink of water and then let's talk about some whips. I'm going to start with the one that's I've made the least progress on, and then we'll kind of improve from there. I started, if you watched the last episode, you'll have seen that I've started trying to get my head around 9-inch circular needles for the first time. And these are the Edward Point mitts. I feel like I don't have a grasp on the patterns that I'm knitting at the moment, so if there's a lot of checking of my phone in this episode, I do apologise. Oh, it was already open. The Point Edwards Mitt by Fairlight Fibres, which is a free pattern available on Ramble. And it's a really, I say it's a good pattern, I've not finished yet, so these might end up awful, but the pattern looks good, it's kind of quite straightforward. And I'm knitting these on 3.5mm 9-inch circulars, which are Addy, let me get the packaging, Addy Sock Wonder needles. And I'm knitting this out of the Crafty Bird's Cozy DK base in the colourway, the Family Madrigal. When I spoke to you last time about these, I told you that I was hating every single stitch. And I actually, if you left a comment, give me advice on 9-inch circulars, thank you, because a lot of you gave me the advice that I need to kind of hold them less, or like hold onto them a bit looser. I think someone's comment was saying that you kind of need to almost like keep your pinky fingers up. That did help, so thank you for that advice. I still though think, I'm still finding them a bit fiddly. I've got past the ribbing section, so the stockinette section is a bit easier because I'm not having to move the yarn as much. I'm just not sure. What I've done is I finished the ribbing and I've got to the stage where I need to do the first increase, which is a make one right, I think. And I'm just nervous about doing a make one right on these because I feel like I'm just going to drop all my stitches and it's all going to go absolutely peak tong. So I need to kind of just sit down and power through a little bit. I don't think 9-inch circulars are ever going to be my best friend, but at the same time I do want to finish these because I'm happy with my tension and I'm happy with having something in this circumference because it's something I've struggled with in the past, but I do just think I need to find a different solution. Some of you left comments about using the flexi flips. I do have some flexi flips. I tried casting on a finger and weight pair of mitts on Christmas Eve with my flexi flips, and I was doing it at my parents' house and I didn't really have all my stuff with me and I just got frustrated, so in the end I just put them down and then just cast on a hat on some 16-inch circulars because I was I know how to do that. But I might give them another go. But I might need to buy, oh my god, I'm just throwing it on the floor. I might need to buy some 3.5mm of those, because I've got those in 2mm and 2.25mm, which is the size I think I'll end up using for socks. But I really want to power through with some DK first to get used to it. I see some people that I think it's interesting how people view the thickness of yarn and what's too thick and too thin. Because I can't remember who I was watching someone who said they had some Aran weight yarn and they said it was too thin for them. They said that they were only used to knitting with chunky weight yarn. And I find that interesting because to me, Aran weight's borderline too thick. I don't really like, I think a DK's borderline as thick as I want to go with yarn. Which I think is interesting that people were kind of either side of that kind of field in terms of, when I crocheted, I definitely started crocheting mostly with Aran weight yarn. And I think I like crocheting with Aran weight. It took me a while though to work out what Aran and worsted weight were. I remember my first temperature blanket, that one there. The gauge is all over the place because I thought all Aran weight yarn was made equal, but so I just bought loads of colours from loads of different brands thinking that it would be fine. Turns out it's not, which is why it's kind of a bit all over the place. And I don't really know what I was, but DK I think is a good size weight for me to learn new techniques. Especially just because there's less stitches obviously than using fingering weight for similar sized projects. So I don't really have anything to say about that. It'd be interesting to know what kind of weight yarns are your favourites. I'm definitely a kind of fingering weight, DK weight boy. Let me know if you're kind of more on the other side and you love like a big chunky knit and some Aran weight and don't like the fingering weight. Because I get why people don't like fingering weight yarn. It is really quite thin and takes a lot to get any progress. But I'd be interested to know what you think. So that's that. I think I've spoken about this a lot for a project I made maybe 4 rows on, so I'll put that to one side and we'll see where that gets to. We'll see what happens. Let's talk about a whip that's had a lot more work on. This, by the way, that whip's just not in a bag because I've run out of project bags and it's a whole thing. This one is in a bag though. This is a bag by the Fibre Fox with all these moths on, which I really, really love. This is the bag I'm designating to be kind of my boyfriend's project bag. So any project I'm making for him will probably live in here, unless I make him something that's too big for this. But for the most part, this will probably, I think I'd be able to fit probably a jumper project for him in this bag because he's a relatively slender man. So I say relatively, he's very, very slim. So I have in this bag my Simon shawl, which is a pattern by Twinset Purl. I always want to say Tin Can Knits. Every time I think of tea, I think Tin Can Knits, but I don't know why I've never knit anything by Tin Can Knits. This is the Simon shawl. So this is a 2-colour, although I suppose you could use more than 2-colour, but it's a 2-colour fingering weight pattern using a kind of simple slip stitch motif. Let's go with motif. And this, I've made a lot more progress on this than I had the last time. So that stitch marker there, or that progress keeper, is where I was at last time I filmed. What I've been doing with this is putting about half an hour in a day. So, and I think that's how this project's going to keep going. I think I'm probably about halfway through this project now. In terms of length. I might measure it, to be honest, to see how long it is and how long the pattern says to get to, because I know I'll be able to block it a little bit as well. I also need to weigh my yarn because I'm not sure how much I have left, but that's what I've got going on this. Now that this is at a point where I don't need to think about it at all, I know where it's 2 colours and each colour you do 2 rows on, and I know what to do for each colour. It's super, super mindless. And now I get why a lot of people knit a lot of these, because it's just really simple to pick up. but you still feel like you're doing something because it is a slip stitch. So you are thinking a little bit. However, having said that, I can see myself making more than one of these. I don't think I'm going to make more than one of these quickly. So I think I could see myself casting on another one relatively quickly after finishing this, but not so quickly, but not in a way where I'm like, I just need to finish this project. It's maybe just going to be the kind of project that I just kind of have on the needles every now and then. Speaking of needles, I am knitting this on 3.5 mil Leica circular needles. Really, really like these. I've just seen recently Leica are coming out with a set of metal needles with new cables that are kind of, I think, meant to be less, like kinkless, and I'm super interested in those. And I really hope the cables that they come with are compatible with their wooden interchangeable needles, because the cables are my least favourite things about the Leica needles. So if they've improved that, that will really up my interchangeable game. And I'm interested in trying their metal needles. I don't need more needles. Well, I don't have every kind of needle in the world, so I guess I do need more needles in some regards, but I'm really interested to try them, so I'm looking forward to those coming out. But a bit of an aside, that's where we're up to. I'm going to keep doing the 30 minutes a day on this, I think. Sometimes I do more than 30 minutes over a weekend, sometimes I'll sit and put a couple of hours into this, but I think I want to do at least 30 minutes a day, so eventually it gets finished, because otherwise it's just too easy for it to not get any progress on it. I am knitting this, if you've not seen before, because I feel like I've been talking about this project for a while now. I'm knitting this out of John Arbon's Knit by Numbers 4-ply, the green colourway. Actually, let me go a bit closer up so you can see the colours, because it's very low contrast. The green colourway you can see there is colourway number 43, and the black is colourway number 1. If you don't know about the Knit by Numbers thing, highly recommend looking up and going on John Arbon's website, because I think it's a really fun system of yarn colours. And it kind of, if you're really into colour work, I think it's ideal for people like you. I'm not sponsored by John Arbon, although that would be amazing, because I have some new yarn to talk about later, and it is John Arbon, so I'm a big fan. And this is a 50% merino, 50% Blueface Leicester base. And I think that's everything for this. I think this will get finished by the end of May, which is 2 months from now, so that's not super ambitious, but I think it will get finished by the end of May. Let's talk, should we do some crochet? I have a couple of crochet products. One of them is the aforementioned gift for my nephew. So I bought a bunch of Yarnsmiths Chenille chunky yarn, which I like this yarn. I think it's a good Chenille yarn, but I hate Chenille yarn, if that makes sense. Hate's maybe a strong word. I just don't really like it as a yarn, but I think this is a good version of that. I think if you like Chenille yarn, you'll like this. But I am knitting a pattern. Did I say, yeah, that's by Twinset Purl. I did say that, didn't I? I'm knitting a pattern by Chastity Ann Designs, which is based on the island woman and the lava woman from Moana. Or is it a lava man? I don't know. I've not seen the film in a while. But if you've seen the film, you know what they are. My nephew is very much in his Moana era, so, and I think he has been for like over a year. So for his birthday, my mum messaged me, sent me these patterns, or she'd found these patterns, and she said, if I buy the patterns and the yarn, will you make these? Because my mum knits, but she doesn't crochet. I said yes, potentially something I regret. Last time you saw me, I'd made this. Since then, I've made this, which is her hair. So if I I've not sewn it together yet, and that's not really how it would, I guess that's the front, isn't it? I'm super nervous that when I sew this together, I'm going to do it back to front. So that is her hair. So that's how she'll look. And I don't know whether she looks silly or not. I don't know whether I've done the hair particularly well. So you kind of knit it, you crochet it as a cap, and then you'll sew it on. One bit I did really like is if you see at the front, there's like a fringe detail, which I thought was really fun and quite a kind of thoughtful, because I think if I was designing this, I would have just left that flat. So I think that's a nice little detail in there. So now what I need to do is and I will do this weekend, I need to do, also, I should have said this at the start, if I sound ill, I am getting a little bit ill. I feel a bit nasally and I've got a bit of a sore throat, so I don't know whether I sound it in my voice. But irrelevant. I need to do the eyes, the mouth, I need to do like a kind of skirt that she has, and then I need to do some flowers for said skirt, and she has a bit of a flower crown, and then this one will be done. So I think I'll finish this at the weekend. I don't think it will be too much more work. Then that gives me a week to do a whole other one of these out of black chenille yarn. I can't tell you how little I'm looking forward to it, but needs one. And it might get to a point where I don't want to spend the next week hating my life, so it might get to a point where maybe he just gets one doll this for his birthday, maybe he gets another doll for Christmas, or maybe he just gets one doll ever. I don't know. But yeah, I think this will come up together quite quickly. The pattern uses safety eyes. You'll notice I haven't put safety eyes in there. I live in constant fear of being the reason that my nephew chokes and needs to go to hospital. So I won't be putting safety eyes on it. I will be crocheting some little ovals and then sewing them on. And I think they'll do the same job. I think they'll look cute. I think safety eyes are fine, but I don't know why they're called safety eyes. Like, I don't know what danger eyes are, because as far as I'm aware, you're still not meant to use them on things for young children. So what were we using before safety eyes that made them dangerous? I don't know. I have, of the two colours I've used so far, I have this much left. So I've got plenty to do the skirt, I think. And then I'll make some little crochet flowers, which I think will be fun. Maybe. I just don't like chenille yarn. I think I mentioned that. Let me, oh no, that looks like I'm strangling that. Let me just wrap that around so I don't lose the tail that I need to sew on with. Annoyingly, I wanted to have this done by this episode so that I could show you these finished, because they will be going to my nephew before I next film. Oh, but if I do film that vlog, unless you all are mean to me in the comments and tell me not to, then I can show you during that weekly vlog where I get to in the finished projects. That's fun. So you'll have to tune into that now, because I know you're all on the edge of your seats about this. This is living in a butternut handmade bag. And to be honest, the fact that I don't have this in a project bag, but I do have this, feels a bit odd, because this is the kind of thing that could just live out on its own. But it's currently in a project bag, and I just need to make sure I don't forget to work on it. But that is whip number 3. Let's do a bit more knitting, and then I'll do crochet and new cast on, because those are kind of related. This is a bag by Pigment and Ply. This was part of their 2023 advent. I love this. It shows up really nicely on camera, actually. The camera really captures all the different details of it. That's fun. And in here is my Tintype Scarf by Woldten, which is an extremely fun pattern that I'm having a really good time with. Although I've not made as much progress as, this is the project that makes me feel like I've not done a lot of crafting since I last filmed, because I've made progress on it, but I could have made a lot more if I'd have had the time. Which is fine, like that's not the end of the world. But let me show you it. So this is I'm crocheting that with a 4.5mm hook, by the way, and I use the Crochet More hooks, in case you're interested. But back to the Woldten. I'm knitting this on 3.75mm Leica needles. Let me show you where I'm at. Let me put that down there. So this is where we're up to with this. I think this is the most fun thing I've ever knit. I love it so much. I'm using, for the yarn, is the Crafty Bird Musicals Advent, which was their 2024 Advent in their 4-ply. The version I have of the advent isn't necessarily the final advent, because I ordered one that then went missing in the post, and then they very, very kindly sent me what was their like test version. So some of the colorways are slightly different, but when you look at them side by side versus like what I've gotten on Instagram, they're not that much different. She pretty much nailed it straight away. She being Robin from the Crafty Bird. And then the grey colourway is a plain colourway by Pixie Yarns, which doesn't have a name, but is similar to their Mizzle colourway. And this is where we're up to. I think last time I spoke to you, I was here. Oh, you can't, I'm like pointing at the middle of the camera, but that doesn't make sense to you, does it? I was at this blue colourway, so I have added on the greens above that. And I just love this so much. This is a pattern, like I said, by Woldten. It uses a lot of German short, I mean, it's entirely German short rows, and that's how you make the shaping. And this is the first time I've used German short rows, and I love German short rows. I will definitely be looking for other projects that do a similar kind of shaping, I think, because I just think it's really effective and quite fun to do. What you do is you knit a grey section, and you're doing short rows on the two outside bits, and then you knit a colour section and you're doing the short rows at the centre, which is kind of how it becomes this almost like pill shape. I think it's so much fun. I honestly, I don't, if anyone's looking at this and thinks this looks rubbish, I just don't know what to say to you, because I couldn't agree less. I am halfway through the colours, so I've done 12, because it's a 24-day advent. I don't think this is half of a scarf, really. I'm going to wait until I've done all 24 colours to test, but this is the length I've got on it. To me, this doesn't feel like half of a scarf. This feels like really a third of a scarf. So I'm going to, so I'm still on the first, I have 2 balls of this colourway. I'm going to see how many colourways I can get through using 1 ball, and then I will do the same number of colourways again. So it might be that I then, well, it will be that I will start repeating colours, and I'll either do it in the order but in reverse, so I'll get to like day 24 and then go back 23, 22, or I'll just pick out some of my favourite colourways and put them in. I'm not sure yet, and I don't need to decide for a while. But that's the Woldten. I love it. I think it's really cool. I think it will look really cool on. And like I said before, I think it almost feels like cheating, because I feel like that's how much yarn I have left from each mini. Like I think it uses maybe 5 grams. If that, to be honest, it might even be like 3 grams of each colourway. Just having the best time with it. I'm going to try and put a decent amount of time into this while I'm off. I think this might be my main knitting project for the next week, because I'd like to get through the full 24 so I can then make the decisions. This might even be finished the next time I film a video. Maybe. I also really love, you can't see it so much on camera, but the coloured sections are done in stockinette while the grey sections are in garter, so you get this really fun texture by the centre where it kind of goes flat for the colours. I could talk about this project all day. I hope you equally think it's fun. But also, like, I'm not too fussed if you don't. My entire sense of self-worth doesn't rely on what you think of this project. But I think it's so fun. And that, I said what the bag is, wasn't I? I do think Woldten, this is the first pattern I've done by them. They do a lot of kind of, I think they call it like origami. It's kind of a lot of textured patterns, which look interesting. They're kind of a completely different style to this, but I might have to look into one of those at some point as well, because I love the way this pattern is written. I can't show you because it's a paid for pattern, but it's the most well put together pattern I've used. It's so well thought out. There's lots of options in it. There's lots of different spaces for you to be able to kind of get your head around the shaping. And considering this is my first time doing German short rows, I have not had to look at the pattern since like the 4th section. it just makes a lot of sense. The way they've got you to place the stitch markers and then what they're telling you to do based on those stitch marker placements is super, super intuitive. So I think it's great. I think everyone should be making Woldten, not Woldtens, that's their name, not the... everyone should be making Tintype Scarves. And I think I'll probably make more than one. I think it's a great Advent project, but I also think it would be great, and it's originally written for like a colour changing yarn being the colour sections, and I could see myself doing that. But I also need to stop purchasing yarn, so maybe that'll be a next year project if I get through loads of yarn this year. That is whip number 4, yeah. So I have 2 more whips. One's a new cast on, but both use the same yarn, so I'm going to kind of talk about them together but separately. I feel like I've been thinking, I thought this was going to be a shorter episode, but here we are, and I've absolutely rambled on. So this project you have seen before. This is the oh, I don't know. I need to get better at remembering what I'm missing. The Just Feel Festive Shawl, which is a pattern by Caleisha Ryan. It's a pretty straightforward crochet pattern designed to be done with Advents. I am doing it using the Third Volt Yarns Universe at Your Doorstep Yarn Club, which is a monthly club, and I'm getting 1 skein of DK each month. So I don't think you saw colourway 2 as a skein. I think I just immediately put it in this project. So let me show you. I don't know which one's the top necessarily. Here's where we're at. So last time you saw it, I think I'd done all of this darker section, which was January's colourway, and it was called A View from Jupiter on Mars. I need to get the tag to know what the next colourway is called. The second colourway is called The First Planet. And I love the contrast between these. I love both of these yarns. And I'm happy with the contrast because I was slightly, not concerned because I think it would be fun, but I wasn't sure, because obviously I didn't have them yet, as to whether we were going to end up with a kind of quite similar colour palette all year, which I don't know whether it would have been super successful in this pattern or not. But obviously we haven't, because we've gone from a deep blue to kind of bright, much brighter colours. I love this. So eventually the way this crochet pattern works is you're crocheting it this way. It's granny stitch, but you are reducing at one end, increasing at the other end. So you're ending up with this kind of on the bias effect where you get the colourways going across in these stripes. I think that makes sense. And I really love it. It's a really simple pattern. I'm doing it slightly different from the pattern. So the pattern calls for finger and weight double, but obviously I'm just using DK, so that's the same. But I'm doing the sections twice as long because I'm going to have 12 colourways through the year, whereas an Advent obviously has 24 colourways. And it means I use a bit more of the yarn as well. So I'm doing, I think, 14 rows for each section. And I really enjoy it. It's a really simple pattern, really well thought out, having a really good time. This is living in a bag that I sewed myself in these yellows with my dodgy bag pin from Ali at Little Drops of Wonderful. Because it very much is a dodgy bag. It's a really weird shape. So, this uses about 10 to 12 grams of yarn. So I've got a lot of yarn left over from it, and I was wondering, I couldn't work out what I wanted to do with the rest of it. I couldn't work out whether I wanted each colourway to then become its own thing, which would have probably been a hat, but I don't need, I've already got one club that I'll show you some more yarn for in a second, that I'm making hats with pretty much every month. So I don't need 24 hats this year. And then I was thinking of potentially doing a granny wrap like this, but what I didn't want is I didn't want a pattern that kind of gave you diminishing returns on how much of the colour you were seeing, because on a granny wrap triangle, the further out you get less kind of thick sections, which I didn't want for this yarn. So I found a knitted pattern, because I also kind of was thinking, there's just chenille fluff all over me. I was thinking that's a crochet pattern. It would be fun to see what this yarn looks like knitted up. And I was trying to find quite a simple pattern that had, I kind of had it in my mind that I wanted to I've just read a news story that's just thrown me off. It's about a card. I don't know why I'm just reading it. It's about a cardo. I don't even really shop with a cardo. I don't know why that's really like. I'm just going to look up on Ravelry what this pattern's called, because I do not remember. But I think it's a 10 out of 10 pattern. It's called the Scattering Petals Cowl by Dana Rae Makes, or is that Dana? Dana Rae Makes. I think it's so good. I will put up a pattern of the finished one. I'm making some tweaks to it, but here's the finished one. What it is, basically a 2x2 ribbing cowl, knit in the round and then joined together at the tube. But the ribbing's offset, so you get a kind of really fun texture with it. In the interest of wanting to use more of the yarn, so as you can see in the picture, they use one colour per stripe. I'm doing 2 stripes of each colour. And I've caught up with both both months. So I cast on with this first one. Let's see how that focuses. I think the texture's so fun. So I did 2 sections of this colour, and then I've done 2 sections of the other colour. I made a bit of a mistake, and I did an extra couple of rounds in the cast on section than I was meant to, because I thought I was being clever, but turns out I wasn't. I got my maths wrong. But it's fine, because once it's sewn together you won't see it so much. And that's how it's knitting up. And I love 2x2 ribbing, so it's a really fun, relatively mindless project. We're getting really, and it's really, because it's the ribbing, it's quite squishy, it's really nice. It's just really nice. I'm not entirely sure as to, because I've got here about probably 4 inches, which means at the end of the year I'm going to end up with about 24 inches, which is potentially not big enough for a cowl, because it might be big enough actually. That might be a good size for a one time around cowl. But really what I'm going to do is just figure that out at the end of the year and see what I want to do with that. And see whether I want to kind of keep this going and add a club from next year into it potentially. Not sure. 24 inches, maybe 24 inches is a good size for a cowl. Let me get my tape measure out. Oh, I bet that was actually really annoying. Sorry if you have headphones. That was probably awful. So 24 inches. God, I've got such a big head. 24 inches. Yeah, maybe it'll be a nice one time around cowl, because obviously it'll be stretchier than a tape measure is. Apologies about that noise, actually, that was awful. But we'll see. I really like this. I also, and I think about this with so much that I make, where I'm like, I'm barely into each one, and I'm like, I want to make another one already. I was like it with the Simon shawl, I think about it with the granny stripe, I think about it with the Tintype. I made 2 shift cowls, and even with this, I'm thinking I want to make another one of these already as well, because I think it would be nice to do one with like DK minis, or with fingering weight held double, which is I think also what this pattern's written for. I think it's intended to be that. And I have a lot of fingering weight minis that I have no plans for, so maybe I'll make another one of these. I also think it would be a really good advent pattern. Maybe I will make an I don't know. We'll see. In the interest of running out of project bags, this one's currently just in this bag. My sister got me this. It has a face on it. I think it's from something, but I don't know what it's from. But this is storing this. And this has the rest of the yarn in. As you can see, still a decent amount of both colour. I think I am going to put these into a granny wrap. And then I was thinking about this the other day. I'm being weirdly frugal with this yarn. I'm getting 3 projects out of 1 monthly club, which I love. I've got so much yarn, I don't need to be like being frugal with these projects. But for some reason, that's how I've got it in my head, that I want to be using every scrap of all these new yarns, which I think is good. But I've got loads of yarn that I'm not even touching, so I don't know whether it's smart. So that is, let me put this back in the bag. That is the, I can't remember what it's called, Scattering Petals Cowl by Dana Rae Makes. I think it's Dana. And I love it. I think it's a great pattern, and it was only like £5. Really good. I think everyone should make one. Actually, it would be a 10 out of 10 like cowl kind of pattern. Maybe one day I'll do like a knit up make along kind of thing. But I just fear that maybe like 3 people would join in. So maybe I won't just yet. Should we talk about some new stuff that's arrived? This video is going to end up being a really long video because I've just been absolutely nattering the whole time. So I hope you don't hate that. If you hate the sound of my voice, then if I'm honest, I don't know why you're watching this. I may have made some purchases, not entirely yarn, but mostly yarn. The first purchase I made was I wanted a new, I think I've shown this to you before, so I might brush past this. This is another bag by Button Handmade. I wanted another one of their small bags so that I can have another hat project on the go in a bag, because the current one's filled and I just kind of feel like I need to, I think maybe I'm a 2 hat at a time kind of boy. So I got one of these in this fun kind of yellow, pinks and greys pattern. I really love the fabrics that Conchetta pulls out for these. And this is just a drawstring. And these are the perfect size for like a single skein project. They'd be great for socks as well, but I haven't done socks yet, so I can't really vouch for that. So that's number 1, but I think you've already seen this. So I'll put that to one side. If you haven't, most of my bags are by Button Handmade. I really, really love them. The next thing is some yarn. So this is the March colourway from the Woolen Witch Yarn Club. So I haven't shown you it this week because I've not made any progress on the February colourways hat, because I'm making a hipster hat using that. And really I just need to do the decreases. So that will probably be finished next episode. But this is March's colourway. It's called Fiery Embrace. I'm getting this on the DK base, and it's their 100% Blueface Leicester, which I love. I think Blueface Leicester is my favourite yarn, I think, currently. I prefer it to a merino. Each month also comes with a little wooden stitch marker showing what the colourway is based on. So this colourway is based on an octopus, kind of one of those fun, vibrant orange octopus. I need to figure out what to make with this because I don't want to make a hipster hat. I need to make a different kind of hat, I think. So I need to have a look for some patterns that I think I want to do something with some texture, but I don't want it to be too textured because I want to show off the colourway as well. So if you've got any hat pattern recommendations, that would be wonderful, because that's probably a not too distant cast on, because I want to try and keep up with these through the year. That is purchase number 2. The next one, I should look up who I bought this from, because I bought it from Etsy, and I would like to be able to say who it is. Etsy. So many buttons to tab through. Verifying the design. I don't need to verify my device, do I? Etsy. Talk amongst yourselves. Talk amongst yourselves. Where? I hope you all really came here hoping to watch someone look up something on their phone. Crafty Fox by Kirsty. And this is a little temperature blanket I don't know what it's called really, shade card. Yeah. So my sister is having her second child in April, and I made her first child, my nephew, a temperature blanket. So I'm going to make another one for baby number 2. And I wanted to get this so I can keep track of the yarns throughout the year, because that one I made in all the temperature blankets I've made, which is only 2, I've made condensed. Like I've kind of planned them all at once and then made them. I've not made one through the course of a year before, which is what I'm doing with this. So I just want to make sure I don't lose track of which colour I want to use for which. And this came really, really quickly. It's kind of a laser cut piece of wood vibe. I still need to buy the yarn for this, which means my yarn in, yarn out is going to be really rough the first part of the year, because I need to buy a blanket's worth of yarn soon. But then I will show you, probably in the next episode actually, because it will be close to the due date, I think. Maybe the episode after that. And I'll show you which colourways and the yarn, and probably have started the blanket potentially. No, I won't, because if the baby's not been born, I don't know what the temperature will have been on day 1 of his life. So I got that by Crafty Fox by Kirsty. I feel like I'm rushing, but I don't really have any reason to rush. It's just I realise I've been talking forever. And then the last purchase I've made is by John Arbon. So John Arbon did a collab with a new to me dyer called Nervous Fibres on their Exmoor sock base. And it was a mill member exclusive. I am a mill member, which is really fun actually, because it's like a one-time purchase. It's not a monthly subscription, and then you're a mill member. And sometimes they do exclusive drops, and this was one of the exclusive drops. So this colourway is called Veiled by Nervous Fibre. So that's their tag. I think I got 2 skeins of this. It was all on their fingering weight, so it's 400 metres per 100 grams. I got 2 skeins of this because I just needed to own this in something. I don't know what it's going to be. Probably some kind of scarf, shawl, neck thing. Maybe a cowl. Maybe a hat. Maybe I could hold it double and do a hat. No, I don't need any more hats. It'll be something around my neck, and that's why I wanted 2 skeins, so I have some options in terms of size. I love this colourway so much. It's like super deep and muted. There's so much colour in there. And this is a really fun base. I've not touched their Exmoor sock base before. It is, let me tell you what the makeup of it is, because it's got a lot of different things in it. John Arbon. John Arbon. Oh, here we go. Exmoor sock. It is. Sorry about this. I've just spent most of this video looking at my phone, I feel like. It is 60% Exmoor Blueface, 20% Corriedale, 10% Zwart balls, and 10% nylon. 400 metres per 100 grams. Really excited about this. And then I also, from John Arbon, got, so if you'd have watched, probably pre-Christmas I think, I got these shade cards. So this is the Knit by Numbers that I'm making the Simon shawl out of. This is their old style of shade cards. So this is how many colours there are in the Knit by Numbers range. It's loads. And their old shade cards used to be like this. So it was a sheet of paper with holes in, essentially, for the colour. And these really work. And this was really, really handy to have for picking out the colours I wanted from the Knit by Numbers. What they've recently done though, is they've kind of upgraded their shade cards a bit. So I bought 3 of them, and I love these. I got the Yarnadelic, the Appledore, and the Devonia. And now, instead of having kind of a single strand of the yarn, you now get kind of a little wrap of the yarn on a card, and it's got the colourways next to it. It's got a bit of a blurb about the yarn, and then you can really see the yarn in there, you know. Like you can see a good swatch of it to know what colours you're getting. And I got it out of their yarns that I think I'm going to probably be the most interested in. So, Yarnadelic I've used before. I love Yarnadelic. There's a colourway in here called Black Gold of the Sun, which is that second one down there, which I definitely need to make something out of because it gives me oil slick vibes. I got their Apple Door, which I've not used before or seen before. Oh, that's popped out. Let me pop that back in. This is 40% Devon Closewool, 40% Romney, 20% Exmoor Blueface. This is available in Aran DK and Lace. And I really love the heathering of these. I'm having to not really look at the camera because these are too wide to be able to see the camera and show you them. There we go. So these are really fun. I particularly love Dufflin. I don't know if you'll be able to see Dufflin. I think it's that one. No, it's that one. I think that's really fun. But I like all of them. I really like the heathering from those. And then I also got the Devonia, which is these colourways. These are really fun to have. Like I said, I love me some John Arbon, so I'm happy to have these because it will help me pick out some fun colourways for some fun projects. And also they're just kind of fun to have. I will probably get their Knit by Numbers version when they eventually do that. Because these are kind of easier to store as well. They're really fun to have. And that's all of my purchases. Let's talk a little bit about what I've watched and read. Let's do reading first. So I finished, I'm just going to open up my story graph quickly. What did I finish? I finished a book. I finished the Darkness Outside Us, which is what I was thinking. I think that's what I was reading when I last filmed. I think I had like 20% left. I really enjoyed The Darkness Outside Us. It's a book by Elliot Schrafer. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It's a really fun blend of a kind of gay romance with kind of some quite hot, like sci-fi horror elements. I thought the ending was a bit random because I thought it was a little bit I thought it was a bit happily ever after in a way I wasn't expecting. But also I liked it, and there is a second book, so I'm happy the way it ended. I don't think that's a spoiler because it's not like a happily ever after, but the ending's interesting, but not what I was expecting. But I think it's really quite solid. I think if you're into queer romance or kind of horror sci-fi, not horror, it's not particularly horror-y, but it's kind of like there's some quite brutal elements to it. So I finished that. I gave that 4 stars. I also finished a book by Adam Silvera called History Is All You Left Me. I can't tell you how much I cried at this book. History All You Left Me is a story that starts when the character that the main character loves is dead. That's chapter 1. It's kind of he's getting ready for the funeral, I think. And then it tells the story through the present in grief and then through history, but kind of history from a present lens in terms of looking back on it and kind of reflecting on the memories. It's really, really good. It's a YA novel, and it does sometimes fall into the pitfalls of kind of, the reason it got a 3.75 from me and not a 4-star is it kind of falls into some of the pitfalls of, do any teenagers exist who are actually like this? There are some elements where it felt a little bit, I think it does a good job of kind of having these flawed characters who are making sometimes bad decisions and living quite kind of just authentically in terms of the way real people would. But then I think sometimes it slips into these kind of deep philosophical thoughts that don't feel super realistic that a 17-year-old who lives in New York would have. But nevertheless, I think my battery's I know my camera's overheating a little bit, I think. Hopefully that doesn't last too much longer. Nevertheless, it's 3.75, really, really good. And I'm currently reading White Trash Warlock by David R. Slayton, which I'm really enjoying. I'm about halfway through it currently. It's the first in a series, and it's kind of it's like a fantasy set in our world. So it's kind of our world, but magic exists, but in a very kind of real and quite raw way, which I think is really, really fun. It's also got a queer kind of romance undertone, but it's much more kind of fantasy. It's much more kind of about the world and the magic than it is about the characters, like the other books. And I'm really enjoying that. Like I said, about halfway. I'll probably finish that over the next week or so. And then watching, I haven't really been watching all that much, to be honest. Nothing that stems to mind. The finale of Severance comes out the day I'm filming this, so that's the thing I'm most excited about. But other than that, I've just kind of been watching random, where it's felt like I've not had a lot of time, I've just been kind of watching random stuff on YouTube, and just kind of, the time's felt like it's just flown. So there's nothing I can really think that I've sat and put time into watching. So mostly reading this week. But I'm going to say goodbye because my camera is, I think, about to shut off because I think that's the overheat warning. I don't know, this has never happened before. I think this has ended up being my longest episode I've ever filmed, and I feel like I had less to talk about, so I've definitely rambled on. I hope you've enjoyed this though. I hope you've had somewhat of a good time. If you're still here, hopefully you're not just hate watching. I will be back in a couple of weeks. Like I said, I might have a couple of different kinds of videos for you over the next month. Potentially a vlog, but if it's not there, then maybe I decided not to, or maybe I did and it was so boring I decided not to post it on the internet. I hope you have a really good couple of weeks. Let me know what you're working on in the comments. Let me know how life's going in the comments, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and subscribing would also be great if you're still watching, because you give me about an hour of your life, so why wouldn't you? But I will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.